So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us here at the lunch hour. And my name is Tom Gilman. In addition to being the founder of EstateAssist, I am also a practicing attorney. My offices are based out of Ashland County, and we practice in a number of surrounding counties. And I've been here for about 22 years now. And so, in addition to being the person who came up with the idea of creating this software and putting together the team that has built it, I am first and foremost a customer of this software. And we use it in our firm amongst 5 attorneys and a team of staff. And so that serves as kind of our incubator and the place where a lot of these ideas and the different things we do to hone and craft the software come from. What you have in front of you is the main dashboard of EstateAssist. We're going to try to move through a little briskly today because I know everybody has a busy day and a limited hour here. But what you see in front of you is the dashboard where a user that logs in sees the overview of important information about their cases. And we're going to see some of these as we go through an example today. But we do see our navigation amongst the current modules of EstateAssist. And then we see what matters we've recently been working in. We see upcoming deadlines and the ability to see more deadlines to go further out for things that are coming up. And then we have a place of tasks that are pending in our cases, what's called fiduciary activity, which we'll see more of here soon. And then we do have a section for news and announcements where we try to keep you up to date on news in the probate realm in Ohio, including recent cases that have come out and things like that. And if we go into one of our modules, we'll start with estate administrations, where again, we have deadlines at the top of our mind here. And then one of the things that you'll see as we get into our modules is that our cases are broken down into different categories. Now, you're not required to do this. You could have everything in one big open box and just see all of your cases in one place in alphabetical order. However, we do give the option of having different sections so that you can see the status of your cases in kind of a Kanban board style. And, I like this in my practice because it allows me to see sort of where all my cases are in the process of moving from start to finish. And it allows me to see if anything's getting a little bottlenecked. So if I start seeing a lot of cases building up in one category, such as inventory prep and asset investigation, I might realize that our team is struggling to keep things moving in that area, and maybe it's something we need to take a look at. And you're able to make those changes as to where cases are. Simply as you're working within a case, you can simply update its status. And it's going to move down through the list on its way to closing. Let's go ahead and take a look at a case then. We'll take a look at Harriet's case today. And this is the estate administration case dashboard. So this is what you see when you open any case. And of course, when we begin, the data is empty. We just create a new matter, select the attorney of record, and we get a page like this automatically set up. And then you would start normally by going in and filling in some case details. Okay, so you're going to have the case number as you receive that, the county, however you'd like your cases to appear in terms of case caption, and then just information about the estate, test date, intestate, the decedent's information, if you're going to have a standalone estate account, surviving spouse information, and then our fiduciaries and bond information and appraiser. We also have a section at the bottom where we can put in hearing information later on as we get some hearings set, and that's going to automatically fill some things we'll see in a minute. If we go back out to our case dashboard, after we fill in that information about the case, we can go ahead and start entering our interested persons. And so we already would have automatically filled in our spouse and fiduciaries, but we can start adding other people, such as next of kin and vested beneficiaries, through our simple input screen to create a new person. We simply put in their biographical information, contact information. We categorize them as to what kind of interested person they are. If they're a trustee of a trust, we can add that information. And then we also have some information if we want to include people who are already deceased, but we want them to show up on our 1.0. And we do have the ability to indent if we want to, what we call nest people, as you'll see in a moment. And then we have the ability to take notes on people, just different things you might want to keep track of about individual people in an estate, and maybe specific or peculiar things about them that you want to be aware of in your case file. Once we've entered our case details and our interested persons, we would be in a position to go ahead and start preparing pleadings in a case, specifically those opening pleadings 1.0 through 4.5. And if we go to our pleading screen, the first thing we notice about our pleading screen is that it has all of our Ohio standard probate forms here down the left-hand column, and it has our county local forms here down the right-hand column. And this case was set in Butler County, and so we automatically see our Butler County local forms. And I'll pause for a moment to let you know that we're currently in the low 20s in terms of counties that we have local forms for, maybe 23 or 24. And we'll be releasing another one probably next week. And we are on our way to having every county in the state of Ohio. It takes a little bit of time for us to gather those forms from them, get them processed and added to the app. But we will have everyone on here and updated. And we've already done some significant updates, including when Franklin County went to their e-filing system earlier this year. We added dozens of updated forms as part of that process, made a lot of changes. And of course, if we went back to our case details and we changed the county, let's say we had it in incorrectly, we changed it to Franklin and we update it, our forms automatically change to the Franklin County forms. Now, on a related note, when it comes to local forms, I know that all of us have times that we have a form that we've come across in one county, and we think, boy, I'd like to use that in another county because I think it's a really great form and they just don't have it locally somewhere else. And that's what our all local form screen is for. So our case is here. If we open up one, remember we've just entered our case details and our interested persons. If we go ahead and open the state standard 1.0, it's going to automatically populate with the county information, the judge information, our case caption information. And it populated with all of our interested persons here on the 1.0. And our fiduciaries down here at our signature block. And of course, the same is going to be true of our Franklin County local forms. We open one of those, it's going to automatically open up with the case information as much as can be filled, including our attorney information, bar number, judge's information, and so on. And we have designed EstateAssist to be able to make easy changes within the system if we have an update in judge somewhere. That, of course, happens with some frequency, and we're regularly updating the app when we become aware of new judges so that your forms are always up to date and ready to go. But back to our issue of sometimes having local forms from another county that we might want, we can go to our all local forms screen. And there we're going to see all of the local forms that we have in the system right now. And we could go ahead and select any of those, and it's going to open, but it's going to populate to the county where our case is. So this one's automatically going to show up saying it's Franklin County, even though we've pulled a local form out of, I think that was Claremont County. And so we've done that just to let you use forms all throughout our system from across the state, but personalized to the county where your case is. And that really came out of, I think it was Pliskin Institute 2 years ago when the judges panel, magistrates panel made some great comments about the value of taking forms from one county to another. So keep it up. All right, back to our state standard pleadings. Of course, we have our 2.0 that's going to fill in automatically, everything laid out well with our attorney information and our fiduciaries, and on down through our appointment of appraiser, automatically pulls the appraiser information that we entered, and so on. We go back to our case dashboard. Another thing I'll point out is once we've entered our case detail information, you're going to see this header toward the top of the screen, and it's going to show up in a few places throughout your case. And this is because, we want that top of mind information easily available, so that, if you need to call or email your client or go to a court website or double check court local rules, all of that's going to fill in automatically for you up here. Somebody just asked the question on the chat, do we have Stark County local forms? Yes, we do. So, but local rules, things like that, all easy to access. Everything's right here and automatically created when you select the location for your case. So once we've printed and filed those, or scanned and filed, whatever we're going to do for our filing of those initial pleadings, we're up and running. And the next thing we would do, of course, is go in and update our dates, right? We've got a few dates in our case details that we weren't able to answer on the first day. What was the date of admission to probate? When was the fiduciary appointed, and so on. And so we're just going to go ahead and select today for all those things. And I won't figure that one out. We'll just save it all as today. And that is going to automatically update. Oh, I already had a date in there. Let me go pick another case. Let's see if we've got a case that doesn't have a date yet. Well, I'll create one here later to show you, but the point is that when you select your dates for those things and save them, the app is going to automatically create your deadlines. So it's going to calculate all of your deadlines. You can see down here deadlines that are automatically calculated based on the previous date that I had saved. Next, we would then go to receipts and disbursements. All right, so our receipts screen is going to lay out like this, where we have a series of buttons across the top that we can select to create new kinds of receipts or assets in an administration. And so, of course, vehicles, boats, and similar titled assets, other tangible personal property, real property, and so on. And so any of those we can create by clicking, and it's just going to have a little section of specific questions related to that type of asset. So for example, real estate is going to ask things like parcel number, map number if your county uses that, prior instrument reference, things of that sort. It's also going to give you some options if you like to have your full survey description show up in things like 6.1, 13.1, and 13.2, or if you prefer to just use the short form description. I know some counties and some title offices are big on wanting the real estate description in the forms, others don't. So we give you that option to select those, or even to just make them exhibits. Further down in all of our receipt screens, we have a section for intended disposition and a section for the ultimate disposition. So this is just allowing you to tell the app what you plan to do with the asset and what you ultimately do with the asset. So do we plan to transfer it in kind, in which case we can select people and the percentages or fraction interests that they're going to receive? Or do we want to sell it, and how do we plan to sell it? And those selections are what are going to populate our forms 9s and 10s and things of that sort. So those applications or requests, or 9C, those forms that allow us to request the transfer of assets before we get court approval. And then, of course, if something is transferred in kind or is sold, and we can update the date and where the money from the proceeds of that sale are deposited and things like that. And by the way, that starts by allowing us a estate account, but every financial account you create in an estate will automatically show up here. So you can be depositing money into any account within the estate, and the EstateAssist is going to go ahead and track that for you. And as we do those things, as we mark things as sold or transferred or what have you, we're going to start seeing these dots turned from red to green. So when we first create all of these assets, these are all going to start as red, telling you, hey, you've got some work to do. These are not ready to go. This isn't ready to close. But as you do liquidate things and transfer things, you're going to go to green so that you can easily look at your board to see what is and is not still needing resolved. I am a little embarrassed to admit it, but hopefully other people have experienced it too, that over the years, once or twice, I thought we were ready to close an estate and then realized there was some asset that we had forgotten about, or it was just sitting in a file waiting to be dealt with. And so we wanted a way to easily track and see that you can look and see what needs resolved and what doesn't. Now, while we're on this screen, we're also going to start seeing those forms that are related to the applications for transfer. So for example, for this Toyota Tacoma, our 9C for Franklin County automatically shows up. And this is the one that's personalized to the county. The app automatically looks at what county you've selected and gives you the appropriate 9C if that's a county that uses a 9C. And then, of course, in Franklin, they have the 9CE, the judge's signature page document pursuant to their e-filing, and that automatically populates with all the information about that asset. Similarly, our real estate that's set to transfer, we've got our 12s, and so it's going to automatically populate, check the boxes, and fill things in for our transfer of real estate so that we can easily get that done. And if it's a spousal transfer vehicle, we even have some general affidavits that are automatically built to fill in with information so that you can help your client head over to the title office and get titles switched into his or her name as a surviving spouse. Given that we should be tracking that information for our sixes anyway, it's great to be able to help clients with a click of a button to be able to go ahead and provide them that document as well. We're going to come back to the receipt screen here in a few minutes. Now we'll take a look at our disbursement screen, which allows us to enter any disbursements in the estate by clicking this disbursement button. You give it a description, an amount, the date. Again, all of your accounts show up, so what account you're paying it out of. And then of course our recapitulation categories for things like to go on the back of the 13.0 or the categories on 13.1 if you want categories. By the way, somewhat recently we added save, save and new, and save and duplicate. So buttons that allow you to enter your receipts and disbursements more quickly. If you have to enter a bunch at once, you can just do save and duplicate, and it's going to duplicate that information, just give you another fresh screen, but with all the data, or save and new, it's going to save it and give you a fresh empty screen. But either way, it's designed to help you keep moving faster rather than saving and going out and clicking to start again. Now we come down through our disbursements here. One of the things that stands out, another great example of working with our user base, we've got several hundred users across the state, and they're wonderful. They're a great community of people who help keep us updated on what's going on in their local counties, but also telling us what they want in order to have more flexibility in their work. And this is a great example. Somebody reached out to us and told us, hey, in the past we've had a receipt for disbursements, and our court has really come to make that, it's not a local form, but it's a local expectation. Could you provide something like that? So we created for every disbursement, there is automatically a receipt form that has the information from that disbursement. And then also there's a group disbursement receipt form if you wanted to do them all in one back on our pleadings page. So as we've been entering receipts and disbursements, we of course can go back to our pleadings page and start looking at some of the financial documents. And so specifically we'll go to our 6.0 and 6.1. And our 6.0 is going to automatically categorize and calculate all of our receipts. And again, it's going to fill in with all of our information about the case and the people and the case caption and all those things. And then our 6.1 is going to do the same. It's going to pull all those assets and it's going to categorize them by our different groupings from the 6.0. It's going to mark which ones are appraised. It's going to total everything up and so on. And of course, it'll keep adding pages as you keep adding receipts. We didn't have to choose where to put those things or anything like that. EstateAssist automatically is just going to see all those assets. It's going to grab them and it's going to put them on there and make it automated and ready to go. So if we've done our receipts and we've done our disbursements, the next thing that we looked at in EstateAssist was how to make it easier to just manage the financial side of our work. If you're anything like my firm, over the years, we've used about every different tool to track account balances, from actual paper check registers to Excel to Word documents to QuickBooks and you name it. Well, we decided that that really shouldn't have to be a separate tool. If you're using EstateAssist already to enter all of your receipts, and if you're tracking all of your liquidations, and if you're entering all of your disbursements, well, then you ought to be able to know what's going on in any of your accounts at any given moment. So we have our account register. And we go in here, it's automatically going to start with the estate account. And so as we have made disbursements, it's putting them in as debits. As we've made deposits from liquidations, it's putting them in as credits. And it's giving us a running balance to show us exactly how much money we have in the estate account at any given time. And the same is true of the other accounts in this estate. We can select any of them, and it's going to bring up whatever activity has been tracked to that account. So it allows you to reconcile your accounts really easily and see what's going on in any of your financial accounts throughout an estate at any moment. And, we thought that this was helpful when we put it in. I don't know if I realized how much it would be, because what I find now is the number of times that I'm in a client meeting, in those first few weeks after we open an estate, and a client says to me, hey, do we have any money available yet to reimburse my sister for the funeral bill or pay this bill or whatever it is? I didn't realize how many times I'd have to go find somebody to look in the file and this and that. And now I just have my iPad with me, which EstateAssist shows up great on a tablet. And I'm able to just bring up the account register right there and see what we've liquidated and deposited and what we have on hand. And it's just saving us great time and allowing me to communicate more seamlessly and smoothly with our clients. And as I mentioned, that EstateAssist shows up great on a tablet. I will just remind you, if you're not aware, EstateAssist is entirely cloud-based. So what we're seeing here, we're just logged into the app via a web browser, and we're currently using Microsoft Edge. We can also use, of course, Google Chrome and any number of other browsers. On a side note, if you had any problems with AWS's technology failures the other day, we all had an interesting morning when it seemed like about half the internet stopped working. We are happy to report to you that EstateAssist did not stop working. We were able to send out an email immediately to everybody to let them know that we have a backup web address they could use that got around the problem that AWS was causing for so many people. And we said, click here and you're up and running. And everybody clicked there and they were up and running. And we have several redundancies like that. In fact, the entire EstateAssist app is actually housed on two completely separate servers with two completely separate accesses, but all with your same data. So literally one of those companies could close down tomorrow and our users would continue to function without any problem. It's very important to us that we offer our clients as much uptime and availability as possible, and that their data is completely safe and secure and available. And we've been very fortunate and done a lot of hard work to not have any problems with that. All right, so we've seen our case details and our pleadings. We've seen receipts and disbursements and how some of those financial documents start to come together. Let's look a little bit at correspondence, the next big area of probate work. And again, when we were building this, our mindset is we want one solution that deals with all of your estate administration and other probate needs. And communication and correspondence is a huge need in our work. It's a big part of what we do. And the more we do, the happier our clients are. We know that's always a concern to clients, to hear more and have clearer communication. And in the past, of course, many people are drafting their pleadings in one system and they're drafting correspondence in another and so on. And we said, if you're entering all of your people's contact information into a case, why shouldn't you be able to automatically have your correspondence? Now, obviously, when it comes to things like standardized pleadings, we all have to accept the same solutions, but nobody wants the same solution for correspondence. You're not going to want my letters in my voice, and certainly not on my letterhead. So we had to develop a system to resolve that you'd be able to have automation, but with your communication. And we were able to do that. And so what we do is we offer all of our users a simple sheet of variables. It's a couple brackets with a certain word in between and certain spacing. And you can go and put that throughout your Word documents. I'm sure you, like me, have a bunch of standardized letters that you use for a testate, estate, or an intestate, or one that you're sending waivers, or one that you're sending notices, and inventory and appraisal, and so on. And so you get to take your letters with your letterhead and plug in these variables wherever they go. So there's a variable for the fiduciaries, and there's a variable for the decedent's first name and last name, and the case number and the court, and on and on. And then you can simply upload those to your account, and they'll automatically be available in all of your cases. And so we can go to our notice and waiver screen here to start seeing personalization in our communication. Now, first, let's just take a look that the notice and waiver screen has all of our waivers and notices and consents, both state standard and the local county, that are personalized to the recipient. So we click on this 2.1, and there's Calvin's 2.1. If we do jump back out for just a second to our pleadings, pleadings, and go to 2.1, everybody's on it. So if you do those round robin signings, you'll have everybody out at your pleading screen. But if you want personalized ones, you're going to go to the notice, waiver, and consent screen. But also, as we start to scroll down, and every interested person has this box, see, they've all got one of these with all their waivers and all their notices and consents, but also it has a section for correspondence. And so I can click this letter, and my browser is automatically going to open Microsoft Word, and there is my letter with my letterhead, with the case information personalized to this recipient, and of course, my correspondence, my content that I use for this kind of letter. Okay. And you can make all sorts of letters. In fact, look, we even have an envelope here. You don't even have to prepare envelopes anymore. We click the envelope one, and it's going to go ahead and open Word, and it's going to give me my personalized envelope that is formatted, and again, just pulls that person's name and information. I never want to type another envelope again. All right. So that's how correspondence is personalized to the interested people in an estate. We also have general correspondence. You can upload general or miscellaneous correspondence like a court filing cover letter. And so we click that, and it automatically pulls from our court database that has every court in the state, and of course the contact information, the judge, and the website, and so on. And of course, your case information and your content, whatever you want in there. And it's going to fill that letter so that you can easily file things if you're still filing on paper there. As we go back to our receipts screen, we see another powerful use for correspondence, which is communicating with financial institutions. Okay, and obviously, when we open an estate and start entering assets, specifically financial accounts, we want to start communicating with those financial institutions as quickly as possible to gather information like the date of death value, whether or not an asset was or was not a non-probate asset or a probate asset, and of course, requests for liquidation. And if you're anything like us, about 7 follow-ups sometimes trying to get banks to part with our clients' money. Whenever you create a new financial account, your financial account letters automatically show up over here and they automatically populate. And so you can currently have up to 5 financial account letters and I think up to 5 stock and bond letters. And so we've created an account here for PNC Bank and we put in the bank's information and we go back out and we click our first letter and it's going to open up and it's automatically addressed to the bank with the estate information and of course our usual starting request for information about that account. So we have really taken correspondence from cut and paste and even some of those automated systems where you can plug in a name and have it fill throughout the document, and we've made it all one click. You can create a series of standardized template correspondence for people and courts and financial accounts and stocks and bonds and all those different things. And EstateAssist is going to automatically personalize those and complete those and kick them out with one click. And you can have letters out to every one of your interested persons and every financial institution in the state in a matter of a couple minutes, literally. All right, a couple other things to see while we're here on the case dashboard. We do have a place for case notes. All right, I find this is very helpful when I go and just look at case notes about my cases to see what my team of paralegals and assistants have been working on, rather than me have to go ask them all the time and pester them and interfere with what they're trying to do. And so I can look down through here, and whenever somebody enters a case note, it's going to show up here. It's going to tell us who created the note and the date that it was created so that I can see a running chronological list of what's been happening in the estate. And so I can go ahead and just click something here, and I could go ahead and type something in, held a telephone conference with client. All right, and yes, I did enter that by voice. EstateAssist works seamlessly with apps like WhisperFlow and other powerful text to or talk to text apps that I find are saving me a ton of time in data entry now. And so it works seamlessly with that. And I save that note and it's now down here dated and marked, and everybody's able to see what's going on in the state. And last but not least, on the estate administration side of things, we also have tasks down here. You can enter tasks easily. We have deadlines that were automated, as we saw earlier, and we can enter extra deadlines if you want to make your own personal deadlines to push yourself to have things done by certain dates. But then let's also look at accountings. Of course, at the end of an administration, it's time to account for every penny, or if you're in a partial accounting time period. And EstateAssist automates this process, of course, too. And it does it really in 2 ways. One is if you're just doing one single final and distributive accounting, then you can simply just, as soon as you open the screen, you just click on each one. They're going to automatically populate with all the data. One final and distributive account ready to be signed. Same with the 13.1, and so on. Now, if you're going to have multiple accountings, you can create as many as you want down here. And creating an accounting is as simple as clicking the Create Account button, selecting the type, the start date of the accounting period, the end date of the accounting period. And if you know when you're going to file it, you can add that as well, but you can add that later, as we see here. So here are a couple I've created with a start date and an end date, but I didn't put in the date filed with the court yet. And every time you create a new accounting, you automatically get the 13.0, 13.1, 13.2, and 13.9 for that window of time. And so EstateAssist is simply going to look at the dates that you selected, and it's going to look at all of your receipts and disbursements and everything that has been happening throughout your administration, and it's going to automatically pull all the information and put it in the right place. So see, it looked at what the prior accountings were and the fact that there were no attorney or fiduciary fees in those. It's going to put the date that those were filed. It's going to pull all the financial information and of course all the people. And it's going to do that for every accounting. And so if you keep your receipts up to date and your disbursements up to date, accountings take about 30 seconds now. It just pulls all the data, puts it all there for you. And we even allow you a few different layout options on your 13.1. So you get to decide if you want to categorize the receipts and disbursements into those subcategories from the 13.0 recapitulation. If you want to show liquidation gains and losses, the assets that remain in hands from the preceding accounting, and the data disbursements and so on. All right, somebody indicates they're having a little bit of a problem with their computer and not hearing me well. And so, yes, we will be posting this to the web, and we'll send that out when it's out so you can see it again when your computer's working better. All right, so that is estate administrations through the dashboard from start to finish and how to enter your data and all the automations that we have right now. Let's take a look at a couple other quick things. And for this, I've gone ahead and preloaded some data, and I'm going to bring over another browser so you can see. Now, this applies to both estate administrations and guardianships, but I think it stands out as more powerful in the guardianship realm. That's really the first place we got the idea to do it, but we had some users say they'd like to see it in estates as well. And so what we're doing is we've allowed you now a portal for your fiduciaries. And in the guardianship realm, that's going to look like this. This is the guardianship, this is the portal for the Mary Poppins estate, all right, or sorry, guardianship. And so we'll go into Mary's case here. And of course, again, even in guardianships, we've got case details and interested persons and so on. But when we go to our user access screen where we can assign between different staff members and switch between attorneys on the case and so on, we have our guardians down here and the ability to set a password and grant them access to our portal. And you can easily send them a link. And when they log in with the password that you've given them, this is what this guardian would see for this case. The ability to enter expenditures, expenditure requests, education courses, and annual plans. Now, as I said, we've also added this in estate administrations, but it's just for disbursements now. We don't want clients to have access to everything. You're running your cases, you're there to do your job. But what we wanted to get away from is the unfortunate circumstance we all experience where a client who's had the checkbook, be it for a guardianship or even an estate if you hand out your estate checkbooks, and they come walking in, on the eve of an accounting being due, and they say, here's the shoebox full of information, please put it together and spend a bunch of time typing it in. And then one, that's just a bunch of really boring, annoying work for you. But two, that's also when we oftentimes find that maybe a client has made some bad decisions, especially in the guardianship realm, where maybe they're one of those guardians who's gone and spent money without permission. And so we took all those things into account and created a system whereby they can be entering data real time. So they can log in as they're cutting checks and they can enter a new expenditure. And so the guardian here can go in and they just have this simple screen to enter who they cut the payment to, what it was for, the amount, and so on. Now, to put some guardrails around them, look here, it says, is this expenditure approved by the court? And they can select unsure or not approved. Those are the only options they have right now in this case. And let's go ahead and make an entry. Cell phone service. Oh, cell phone service. Oh, I didn't hold it down long enough. All right. We'll keep it simple and put in a voucher number. Now, let's say that we just leave it as unsure and we've paid it out of the PNC account. When I save this, it's going to show up there, but notice what's going to happen if I go back to my case dashboard. I've now got some fiduciary activity. Hey, the guardian in the Mary Poppins estate made an unsure expenditure. So if my guardians are entering things, I'm going to be made aware if it's something that's not approved. Notice earlier, my guardian had entered a request for an expenditure for a nursing home, and notice that the status is marked as pending. And so if we go back, we see that expenditure request is pending. We can click and go to the case, go to our request screen, and we see that we do have a pending application that the person has sent us, or they sent us the request for it. Now notice what happens. I can easily go to my pleadings and open my 15.7, which is automatically pulled that information. All I have to do is print it, have them sign it. It's ready to go to the court. And when that happens, I can mark it as application filed. So it's going to track that it's gone there, and then eventually I can mark it as approved or denied. So we're going to make that approved. So now we know that we've been approved by the court to pay the nursing home. And see what's going to happen back on our guardian's dashboard. When we go to make an expenditure now, the nursing home is now one of the approved expenditures. So my guardian can easily see and communicate with me without having to call me all the time. Hey, what has and has not been approved? Can I make this expenditure? And it's going to kind of put some protections around them. And also, they're able to make other requests for expenditures. They're able to have, oh, by the way, there, I just refreshed the screen so that nursing home now shows as approved, so the client can see that. Move from pending to approved. They can also add their educational courses. And notice we've got a link to the Supreme Court site to get them in touch with courses they can take. And they can give information about annual plans. And again, when any of that happens, you get notified and you can easily automatically print those forms with all of their information without you having to retype it every time. We will be adding some automated email communication with our clients to be able to send out like those reminders that, hey, your annual course is coming due, or your annual reporting is coming due, and things like that. All right. Somebody asked earlier on, is there an automated attorney fee and fiduciary calculator? That is literally in the works. So we've been working on that. We did a deep dive on a bunch of fee sheets from across the state for those counties that use fee sheet calculation. And of course, for fiduciaries pretty much everywhere, but also for the attorney ones. And we've been working on the system for how we can have one calculation screen that applies to the different percentages. And yes, we will have that very soon. Several of our PDFs right now for the fee sheets do automatically calculate when you type into the field the amount. It applies the multiplier. But we're going to give you kind of an even more automated screen within the app that helps you to figure some of that out. All right, somebody indicates that while the fiduciary portals are helpful, they have some clients that won't won't input the information themselves. There'll be a way for them to upload bank statements. Not yet. We don't have a method for them to do that. I mean, I have clients that are the same way. I've got clients that are, technologically averse, and most of the time they would just go ahead and email us those statements or drop them off anyway. I mean, they're going to get it to us one way or another. Um, but yes, I understand. Not everybody's going to use the portal. All right. So, and guardianships are largely the same then as the state administrations. Again, we've got some extra things for education courses and things like that, but we have our pleadings, we have our um, receipts and disbursements and correspondence features and accounting feature and so on. And then we have our adoption screen where we automate the process of preparing adoption pleadings um, for adoption cases. So those are the major points for EstateAssist at this point. We are literally in the middle of preparing to launch our trust administration module, which we expect to be out right around the end of the month. And the trust administration model is going to lay out very much the same way. It's going to have the same look and feel, but of course it's going to have a lot of trust-related inventory and accounting type pleadings or forms, I should say. The ability to do both probate-related trust matters and non-probate, or inter vivos or other non-probate trusts, and a lot of notices, things from the Ohio Trust Code, in order to automate your communications for trust and notifications for people and things of that sort. EstateAssist is, as we said, entirely web-based. We have transparent pricing. It's on our website, but it is $49 a month for an attorney. It is $29 a month for an assistant. You have to have an account for each attorney who's going to have cases, each attorney who will be an attorney of record. Paralegal accounts are really optional. There's nothing wrong with having your paralegal access your cases by logging into under the attorney's name. But it is convenient to have paralegal accounts if you have a number of attorneys, because as I said earlier, my firm is 5 attorneys, and any paralegal or assistant can have cases with every attorney, and they're all on that paralegal's dashboard. So there's some convenience there. There are no long-term contracts or anything like that. Everything is month to month, and people can come and go as they please. And the last thing that I'll say